My voice is audible, right? So, did you all complete your yesterday's task? Did you all complete your yesterday's task? Is there anyone is not completed or still doing? So, everyone is completed. Okay. So, can anyone tell me what is automated testing? Just mention in the chat. What is automated testing and why we are using that one? Quickly mention in the chat. So, Lahari, why you are avoiding this manual checking? Okay. So, all the answers are correct. Like the automated testing means of we have to write in test cases to run and check that if the software is working correctly or not. Correct. Okay. So then we can move on to the next session, the session 9. So in the session 9, you are learning the topics about generics, objects, and extensions. You learn the topics, generics, objects, and extensions, and also in the another code lab, you are learning about the collections like arrays, list, sets, and map. So in the session 9, there are two code labs. There are two code labs. In the first code lab, we are learning about the generics, objects, and extensions. And in another one, the second code lab, we are learning about the arrays, list, sets, and map. Okay. My screen is visible, right? Okay. So we are learning about the generics, objects, and the extensions. So in this class, we are exploring the key Kotlin features for writing, expressive, and maintainable. Just give me a second. Okay. So what will we learn? Like a generic type parameters, enum and data classes, singleton and companion objects, extension properties and the functions, scope functions. We are learning about these 5 topics in this code lab. So the first thing is of generic data types. The generic data types and the generics are the same words. We will call the generic data types in the short form as the generics. Okay, so this generic data types allows us to write one class or a function that can work with the different types of data. So you can see like if you are declaring any functions or if you are declaring any classes, you have to call every time for data types. So sorry guys, sorry for the disturbance. Like when I'm changing the slides, it will freezing. So that's why I'm taking a break. So the first thing is of generic data types. So this generic data types allows us to write one class or a function that can work with the different types of data. If we are declaring for every data types without using the generic data type, for every data types you have to call like every time you have to call the functions or the declarations. For the string, one function, and for the boolean, one function, and for the int data type, one function. But in the generic, all the functions, all the data types will be declared in a one function. We don't need to call every time for every data types. So instead of creating the separate classes for integer, string, boolean, we create one generic class. We're creating the one generic class that can handle all of them. So you can see in my screen, we are using the T representing the type. The T is a placeholder. In the generic use, T is the placeholder. It will take every data types. In a one function, you can add in every data types. So why we are using these generic data types? To make code reusable or avoid a repeating code. For these purposes, we are using these generic data types. So refactoring with generics. Refactoring means improving or rewriting code without changing its behavior. So when we refactor with the generics, we improve the code by making it more reusable and flexible. We improve our code by making it more reusable and flexible. So what happens if you're using this refactoring means like code becomes shorter. Don't the repeated lines will be not available. The code will be shorter, and one structure works for many data types. We are using only one structure for all the data types, and it will be easier to maintain, and it will be the most professional way and most understanding way. The code will be more professional and understanding. You can see the difference like while giving that generic, we are using generic and not using the generic data types like generic class. The difference will be here. In when we are using the generic, we didn't repeatedly call those functions or classes. But why we are if we are not using that one, so every time for every data types we are calling the functions. So next thing is of enhancing code with enum classes. So these enum classes help us to improve code by replacing the random values with the fixed meaningful constants. And before that, I will tell you that what is enhancing. Like enhancing code means making the code better, safer, and a more readable. Making the code better, safer, and a more readable. So we use enum classes to improve our code by replacing the random values with the fixed meaningful constants. Just think like I will just give one example, simple example. So when we are mentioning that days, all the 7 days are randomly using the days. So instead of Instead of that one, we are using that like all the 7 days' name. When we define that enum in that code, only the 7 days will be declared. It will remove the random values like random days, and it will only give that constant values. So next will be the data classes. Data classes in the Kotlin is a special type of classes used to store data, and it will mainly use it to hold information in a simple and a clear way. We are using these data classes to hold information in a simple and a clear way. And you can see that some data will be here like toString equals and hash code. If you remember, the toString data will be used in our dice roller app. When we built in the dice roller, we are using the toString per image. So what does this data classes do, right? It stores data, automatically generates the common functions, and makes objects easy to print and compare. It will store data and make it the object easy to print and compare, and automatically generates the common functions. Like advantages of these data classes will be the better readability, automatic equality comparison, easy copying of objects, and a cleaner structure. The next topic is a singleton objects. So the singleton is a design pattern where classes has only one instance. In the entire program, the class having only one instance. Like it means only one object is created and everyone use the same object. Having only one object and everyone using the same object. So in Kotlin, we are using the object keyword to create a singleton. To create a singleton, we are using the object keyword. So when we use this object keyword means like when we use this object keyword, it will automatically creates only one instance and no need to manually implement the singleton logic, and it is a thread safe by default. You can see in the screen, first thing in the first column, they are defining the object. They are defining the object as a student progress, and after that, everyone like accessing the singleton object. For every lines, they are accessing the same object name, student progress. In the print line also, print ln, they're using student progress. So the singleton is a like only one object is created and everyone is using the same object in the code. The next is a companion object. So this companion object is a special object that belongs to the class. So it will allow us to create the singleton inside a class. This companion object allows that to create a singleton inside a class. So what it is means like, so every time we have to create an object for the class. When we declaring that class, every time we have to add an object. But sometimes we are not having an external object. So we want something belongs to that class. We want something belongs to that class or inside that class. So it will help that the companion object will help for that one. So why we need this companion object means like we don't want to create an object to access something. In some cases, we don't want to create an object to access in access something, but we want that access it directly, which it belongs to that class, which is already belongs to that class. We want to access that. So why that's why we are using these companion objects. So got it right? The generics, objects, and extension. Did you all understand? So did you all understand right? Give me a thumbs up. Okay. So if you are having any confusions regarding these topics, go through with the code lab. All the topics will covered in the code lab. So if you have any confusions or any doubts, you can go through with the code lab. On to the second code lab, that use of collection in Kotlin. Just a second, I will share my screen. So my screen is visible, right? My screen is visible. Okay. So the next is of use collections in a Kotlin. So in this code lab, we explore arrays, list, sets, and maps for managing the multiple values in your code. So first is the introduction to the collection. So the collection is a way to store and manage the multiple values together in a structured way. The collection is a way to store and manage that multiple values together in a structured way. So why do we need these collections and all? Because of we have to store the list of students like some in a real world examples, or products in the shopping cart, or some messages in a chat. So like this, we have to store all the informations. So this collection help us to store the multiple items, organizing this data, perform operations easily, and manage the dynamic data. So in this collection, there are types of like three types of collections: list, set, and a map. We'll learn about the in a later in this code lab. So why these collections are important, like for making data handling easier and provide a built-in functions, improve the code readability. So that's why we are using these collections. So these are the topics we are learning in this code lab, like arrays, list, sets, and a map. As you see in the screen, these four topics we have to cover in this code lab. So the first thing is of array in Kotlin. Arrays in Kotlin. So an array is the Kotlin is used to store the multiple values of the same type in a single variable. The arrays will be used to store the multiple values of the same type in a single variable. So instead of creating many separate variables, we use one array to hold all the values. So we are using these arrays to store multiple values together, are organizing the data easily, and access elements using the index, work efficiently with the loops. Some characteristics of the arrays are like array stores elements of the same data type. The first one is of array stores the elements of the same data type, and the size of the array is fixed. If once the array will created, the size of the array is fixed. And here all the data will be stored in that index, right? So the index start from 0. It's not start from 1, it is starts from 0. And in arrays, the elements can be modified. The characteristics of the arrays are: array stores the elements of the same data in a same data type. The size of the array is fixed, and the index start from the 0, and elements can be modified. So now you can think of like what is the index and all. So each each element in the array has a position number called an index. The elements in that array have the position number called an index. The first element is stored is the position as of index 0. The second one is of index 1. And there are two types of arrays in that Kotlin. In a Kotlin, there are two types. One is of general arrays and another one is of specialized array. There are two types in arrays. One is of general array and another one is of specialized arrays. As I said before, the accessing and modifying the array elements will be in the index. We are storing the values in the index. So the next is of list. So list in a Kotlin, it is this another one collection used to store the multiple values in order way. We are using this list to store the multiple values in an order way. In the arrays, that elements can be rearranged or resizable, but in that list, it can be resizable. In the list, we can add in elements, extra elements. Once if the list is created, also we can add an elements or remove these elements, or we can change the size of this list. But in arrays, we can't change the size of the arrays, but in a list, we can change the size. And there are two types in the list. One is immutable list and a mutable list. In the immutable list, when we create it, it can't be changed. Once if the list is created, it can't be changed, but in a mutable, it can be resizable. We can change the list. We can add an elements or remove an elements. So the characteristics of the list are: store elements in order, allows duplicate values also, and index start from 0. Index start from 0. You can see in the screen some of the list operations, add, remove and all. Just notice those things. So the next is sets. Until here we are learning about the arrays and a list. So the next topic is a set. Set is an another collection to store the unique elements. The set is an another one collection. We are learning about the The first one, the collection is of list. The another collection is of set. So the set is an collection that used to store that unique elements. So in the sets, there is no duplicate values will be allowed. Each element appears only once. We can't repeat the elements. The same elements will not repeat it, and we can't allow. This will not allow the duplicate values. So the characteristics of the sets are does not allow any duplicate elements. Order is not guaranteed. Here there is no order. It can be changed and can be a immutable or the mutable. It can be a mutable or immutable. Here also same types of sets like an immutable set and a mutable set. So I'll just tell you that what's the difference between the set and a list. So in the list, it will allow duplicates, but in the set, it is not allow any duplicate values. And in the list, the order will be like it will maintain order. It will maintain order. The elements will be stored in some order way. But in the sets, there is no order. It is an unorder. And the list will be the index-based access. In the list, we are mentioning the index from 0, 1, 2, 3, like that. But in the sets, there is no index because it is unordered. We can't know like which element will be stored in the 0th index or which element will be stored in the 1 index. So the last collection is of maps. So in the maps, there are two things, keys and a value. The key value pairs. In the maps, we are using the key value pairs. So it will stores the data as in one thing is a key and a value. Like it is similar to the dictionary. It is similar to the dictionary. Here the every value is connected to the unique keywords. So like what is this key value pair like? It is a label and its information. We just taken an example like the student ID, the label, the key, and the value is the student ID, your number or name. So something like that. It is having the two values, key and a key value. So why we use these maps, like why we are using these maps, right? So we want to retrieve data quickly using a key. While using these maps, we are retrieving the data quickly. And we need to store related information and each item as an unique identifier. So that's why we are using these maps. And in the maps also, the map will be mutable or immutable. It can be both. So the difference between the set and a map is the set is of unordered, but it is the map will be a key value pairs. It will be based on the key value pairs. In the set, there is no duplicates, but in a map, there is a unique keys. There is an unique keys. The set will not follow any index numbers and all. It will follow like uses a key. In the maps, it will use a key for indexing numbers. So the map is a collection that stores the data in a key value pairs, and each key is unique and it is you access its corresponding value. So maps are useful when we need to search data using an identifier. And this is the summary of this code lab. We are learning about the arrays, lists, sets, and maps. So did you all understand, right? Arrays, list, and sets. Is there any doubts about these topics? So, like someone is asking for the real-time example for set and a list. So I will just give you an example. You just imagine having one like online shopping. You are having the online shopping. So you just added the items in the cart. I'm giving the example of a list. Okay, so you are adding the items to that cart. So you can add shoes, shirt, or some other things. But you can add another one shoe space also. So in that card, you can adding the shoes, shirts, like glasses, and then you can add in shoes. So it will allows the duplicates also. But in the sets, it will not allow any duplicate value. You can't repeat the same thing in the list. Understand, right? Okay. So just give me a second. I will share that code lab. So my screen is visible, right? Okay. So we completed the generics, objects, and extensions one code lab and use collections in Kotlin, another one code lab. We completed these two. And these are the continuation part of uh, the session 9 and it will be in the session 10, the higher order function with the collection and the practice. These two are the session 10 code labs. So this is the continuation part. The session 9 and the session 10 will be continue. So you just for the today's task, you just go through with the session 10 with these two code lapses and complete this session 10. In this practice, they are only given some codes. You can just go through with that one. I will just show you. The practice session they are given, right? So So you just briefing and what you are needing this in the Kotlin playground. In a Kotlin playground, you just go through with these tasks and they are giving some codes. They are giving some codes and get an output for that. In Kotlin playground, get the output for the codes. So this is the solution. So they are giving some task like a 3 to 4 tasks they are given. So go through with this code lab and complete all these tasks in that code lab and complete your session 10 also. Today we are completed the session 9. So you have to complete the session 10. It will be in the LMS platform. So for today's class, is there any confusions or any doubts? Okay, then we will wind up here. Complete your task. You have to complete the session 9 assessments, labs and all. And for the session 10, you have to complete the code labs also. Also the assessments, labs and AADK task. This is your today's task. Okay. Okay. Okay, then we will wind up here. See you on Monday. Until then, have a nice day.